Hello, and thanks for joining us. With me, former Conservative Education Secretary Justine Greening and former comedian Russell Kane. Getting wrinkly. We want to give you the truth behind the science of anti-ageing products, whether it's collagen drinks or snail snot. Dr. Ophelia will tell us which skin trends are going to give you an escar glow.
So there are many lotions and potions out there promising to banish wrinkles. I'll tell you which are the best and how to use them, and we've got low-cost options to suit any budget.
Also today, our Sonali Shah is back with today's Cash Clinic. What have you got?
Hey, Steph, if you're a pensioner, you could be missing out on more than £3,000 a year. So I've got details on that. And one of my deals of the week is up to £300 off your next holiday.
Yeah, and I've got my own deal for you as well, a very big one. We are going to be exclusively revealing the new host of Countdown. So, there they are, getting their makeup on. You'll have to keep watching to find out who it is. Plus, she has been a writer for EastEnders, a producer on This Life, and has sold over 1 million books. Author Jane Fallon says she gets her inspiration from anyone she comes into contact with, which means we better watch out what we're saying around you, Jane.
Yeah, I've got some questionnaires for you all to fill in later. Just a few details of your personal lives.
Brilliant, and then it'll be in a book. I love it. And he's the main character in my book. It's John Waite. What are you cooking?
Oh, I want to read that book. I've been back out in the supermarket scouring the shelves. I've not slept for some January deals. And I'm using a bag of oranges today, which is 70p for 5 oranges. And I'm going to make a pudding that makes its own sauce.
Oh, right, very good. Welcome to Stephs Pack Lunch, live from Leeds. I'm interested in this idea of self-sourcing.
Ask Russell.
No comment.
We'll find out later. The oranges do it themselves, basically.
Well, yeah. It's nothing spectacular.
So working
it's actually quite disappointing.
Right.
So,
oh, great. Well, that's just killed the show. That's a great advert for the rest of the show. Thanks.
It's definitely like me. Disappointing.
yeah.
Right, let's have a look at today's top stories. So, ambulance and 999 call centre staff are going on strike today. People are being told not to call for an ambulance unless their life is in danger. In some areas, only Category 1 calls will be answered. To give you an idea of what that means, so it's things like having a cardiac arrest, but it doesn't include having a stroke, for example. So it's quite complicated, isn't it, working out all the different things it means. But meanwhile, the government is setting out plans to introduce a new law that would guarantee a minimum level of service during strikes. Justine, you've had to deal with the unions, haven't you, when you were in the Cabinet? What do you think of this idea, then, of having this minimum level of service if services strike? I think
there needs to be some kind of a minimum level. Does it need to be put into law? I'm not so sure. I think nobody, whether you're in the unions or ministers, wants to ever get to a stage where, because of an ambulance strike, somebody might actually lose their life.
Yeah. So
I think the question is, surely we should be able to reach a conclusion on what that minimum level is without having to take a law through Parliament. That, for me, is the key thing, and they should be able to get around the table and sort that out.
But wouldn't, if it was in law, wouldn't that then mean that it was universal across the country? Because isn't there a case at the moment that different trusts are doing different things in terms of minimum levels?
Yeah, and I think if you look at what the nurses were doing, they did try to put in place a more national approach. So, in a sense, we haven't really had these discussions before because we haven't had this sort of level of strikes before. But what's coming out of it is we do need to just get a bit of organisation, frankly, so the public know what to expect. After that, then, it's a call between the unions about how much disruption they want to cause to ordinary lives and whether they think that really gets people bought into what they're trying to do. And it's up to ministers about how they want to manage their relationships. For me, as Education Secretary, I often had the unions in because my view was I needed to understand where they were coming from on a whole range of issues. And actually, my point to them when I went into that role is, look, we're bound to have areas where we don't agree. That's normal.
Yeah.
We shouldn't worry about that too much. We should try and find the areas where we do agree and work on those. And we shouldn't be held up from doing that because there are some parts of policy that we have different opinions on. But I always wanted to understand where they were coming from because almost the last thing you want is to be on different sides when it's just down to a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's got this far, though? Because, you know, the NHS has been strained since before COVID, hasn't it? An ambulance... I mean, my mum was taken to hospital in a pizza delivery van because when she had a terrible accident because there was no ambulance. And that was long... Yeah, that was 2019, I think. So how has it got this far?
So I think part of it is down to the general strain the NHS is under, and actually a lot of that is about what's happening outside of the NHS. And it's not just adult social care and not being able to discharge people. That's almost the most obvious example. But if you look at other areas like mental health, like public health, it's actually improving all of those things.
So it's government's responsibility.
It's partly government's responsibility. You've got, I think, a bigger role that employers can play on helping protect mental health. There's a societal issue of education and people understanding how to take care of themselves, what a healthy lifestyle looks like and all of that. So there's lots of different things we can do. It's not all about putting more investment into the NHS, although I think that does matter. But in a sense, what we're seeing is an NHS, especially after COVID, that's right on the sharp end of all of these things coming together. And at the same time, then you've got the labour market, the fact it's a really tight labour market. And actually, in the private sector, people are being given higher salaries. And so it's attracting people who would have worked in the public sector, not just in the NHS, to shift into these other roles. So there's almost the politics of this strike and these strikes. And then there's the practicality of, if I'm a Secretary of State, as I used to be, writing that letter to the Pay Review Board, actually the letter that I would be writing now, knowing how much inflation is and what the private sector is doing, is different than the letter I might have written a year ago on what I'm worrying about in terms of pay and reward in the public sector to make sure I've got the staff I need to provide really vital public services.
Does it not concern you, though, that they are talking about putting these things into law? Because, and we've kind of had this conversation before on the show, haven't we, when Rishi Sunak was talking about strikes and, you know, curtailing them. If they were to put kind of restrictions on democratic rights into law, would that not open the floodgates for further democratic rights or even human rights to be curtailed by the Tory government?
So what's interesting
or any government,
is,
not just Tory government, but any government.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that when I listened to Steve Barclay on the radio today, I felt he was being much more conciliatory and saying, oh, we don't want to kind of get in the way of the right to strike. And I think the key here is genuinely finding that balance between being clear about not allowing this to sort of genuinely put lives at risk whilst protecting this sense that actually people are going to organise, they are going to be in unions, they are going to have that right to do that, and that should be protected. And I think the big risk for the government, in a sense, is there's a lot of politics in that. But in the meantime, the rest of us, in the public, kind of just want to get on with our lives. And back in Christmas, you know, we had family questions like, how's my sister going to get to us in Christmas because she's coming on the train? And I think actually, fundamentally, people just want to see these strikes resolved. And that is going to be done by people getting around a table, talking and working through these differences. And there's going to have to be give and take on both sides. And in a sense, the sooner that bit of the process happens, I think, the better, frankly.
Yeah, let's bring in some of the lunch bits as well, because I know, Fazana, you were in the police for a long time, over 30 years.
That's right.
Can't strike in the police.
No, we weren't allowed to strike in the police. But to answer your question, yes, I do think there should be a minimum staffing level across there, because it's really important to keep our country going and to keep the services going, because there have been times where I know one of my elderly neighbours fell, needed an ambulance, a long wait. So I think that staffing is really, really important on the ground. It's important for our country as well. We need to keep our country moving. Financially, we need to keep our country moving as well. And we haven't talked about the financial side.
Yeah. But, David, you disagree, though?
I don't want to see any more legislation. I listened to the Minister this morning as well, and he was talking about it's because of the pandemic. But it isn't. It's about 10 years of austerity, being under-resourced. And if that's the thing that needs to be tackled. I sometimes think I'm living in an alternative universe. You know, I was applauding the nurses, and now they're on strike.
But yeah, obviously trying to get fair pay and better working conditions. And so, you know, there's that to consider in all of this as well, isn't there? Right, I'm going to talk about education now, because more people today have a degree or equivalent qualification compared to 10 years ago. However, there is a big gap between how many qualifications people have in the north compared to the south. So, for example, nearly half of people in London have a degree or equivalent compared to just 28% in the northeast of England, which is where it is at its lowest. You've been Education Secretary, you just mentioned that. What do you think's going on here? Why have we still got this enormous gap between the north and the south?
Well, it's a bit of a rear-view mirror, isn't it, on our education system and where we come from. I grew up in the north, just outside Sheffield and Rotherham. I was the first person in my family to go to university, and I think I ended up going to Southampton in the south. I think part of this is just there are more universities and more people traditionally are from families that have gone to university, and there are, let's face it, higher skilled jobs in places like London, so actually people are probably going to gravitate towards there. I ended up working in London. I represented the London seat, even though I grew up in Yorkshire. And I think it underlines how making sure that ability to get to university is there for everyone. I don't think there have been as many universities in the North, weirdly, but you see brilliant universities like Staffordshire, Bradford, Lincoln.
Yeah.
Just doing Northumbria was classed as University of the Year by the Times Higher Education supplement, doing a brilliant job of giving that opportunity to people.
Russell, what do you think? You don't think it's about the north-south, do you?
Well, there's so many brilliant universities. I mean, Durham's in the North East, for one of the best universities in the UK. I think it's more of a class issue. The more middle-class, posher people you've got, the more likely they are to go to university. I'm sure if you could show me the data going, look, here we are, here's a very wealthy Geordie family, less likely to send their kids to university than the wealthy London family. I bet they're about the same likely. It comes down to wealth and inequality. And the reason it's getting wider is I was one of the idiots that thought the coalition would work out with Nick Clegg and David Cameron. And the first thing he did was
tuition fees.
Go back on his promise. Now, my question to you is, do you think... I was the first person in my family to go to university. Do you think you still would have gone if there would have been the massive debts you would have walked out with, and which people fire back, but, oh, my God, it's just a loan, and as soon as you're earning 40 grand a year, you can pay it back. I've been brought up with an allergy to debt, to fear debt, the way some people from other cultures might fear different cultural things. Debt, to me, is terrifying. You don't put yourself in debt. You don't owe anything to anyone. I simply wouldn't have gone.
I got into debt, though. In fact, it took me until my mid-30s to pay off my student loan.
Yeah,
you know,
but for a lot of working-class families, that's a mental barrier. Mummy and Daddy aren't coming on a white horse if you want to pay that debt off one day.
It's interesting you say that, though, because if you look at... There was an ONS survey in October 2022, and the 5 richest areas of the UK, I guess, were in London.
Yeah.
And the 5 most deprived areas are from the Midlands up. So it kind of correlates directly with the results of today's...
Well,
the poverty and poverty and geographical distribution is linked. It's linked to gender. It's linked to race. It's all linked.
Transport, investment. That's the other thing that kind of drives me mad.
But you're right. We should reform the student loan system, and it can't be right that people from the poorest backgrounds are on average coming out with the biggest money to pay back. And so one of the things I was doing as Education Secretary, I would have loved the chance to have taken it forward, was a major reform to basically remove that whole fee structure, loan structure, because it's not a loan, because a lot of people don't end up paying it back.
Yeah.
And you should have put something in that was much more around that graduate contribution everyone pays, but made that a lot more progressive.
Yeah.
So almost, I'm from a working class background, I went to university, but I did really well.
But was there not a stigma of debt when you were growing up in your working class?
Yeah, totally. And so that's
the missing social element.
I agree, and that was my worry as Education Secretary, was that actually, for a lot of people from our background, we looked at that and thought, well, it's still worth it. But it was going to get to a point where you'd look at it and think, I just can't afford that. And so actually you needed to get ahead of that and change the system before you saw people from working class backgrounds feel it was just too much. And my sense was people going to university, I've had a university in my constituency, did understand in a sense that people who haven't been to university probably shouldn't be funding people who do go. But actually you needed to do that on a really fair, sustainable basis. And I don't think the tuition fee system does that anymore.
And I always bang on about this, and I know when you're Education Secretary, and I did a lot of work in the sector...
And I love being Education Secretary.
Yeah.
Best job I'll ever have.
But there is still a snobbery around qualifications that drives me nuts, and I say this all the time, like, university is not the only way to get a really good job, and we constantly tell people that it is. And yet there's things like degree apprenticeships now, aren't there, where you can earn and learn, and there is lots of other ways, but we always tell people, oh, you know, it's about an academic route, and it's not just about the academics.
Do you not think it's got a part of the problem as well as the fact that government is obviously London-centric, it's based in London? Can there not be more devolution to regional areas for things like the apprenticeship schemes and for mayors of cities to have more say over student loans and stuff like that?
Yeah, so like as in devolution of the skills budget, because I've heard there's various people talking about that, aren't there? Like the levelling up. All these kind of northern powerhouse committees talk about this.
There's quite a lot you can do, and I introduced this thing called opportunity areas, which is much more place-based education. So, say the approach we were having in Blackpool was really different to what we were doing in Bradford, which was different to what we were doing in Scarborough, because they all had or Stoke, they all had really different challenges. And so my view was, you need to work with that more local education system to say, right, let's declutter all of these national initiatives and work out what you need to focus on. And so in Bradford, for example, they really focused on early years and literacy and numeracy. And they worked with the NHS. We had these teams of not just the educators, but everyone else. It turned out that young people in Bradford were far less likely to go to the opticians. So part of their literacy issue was just people hadn't got the right glasses prescriptions. So there's a bit of it that is about having a much more localised... And I would have allowed, in my view, mayors should have been allowed to do opportunity areas. Like, I shouldn't be the one picking them. Maybe I should, but they should have the chance as well. But it's not just the education system, it's also employers.
Yes, and that's what I was going to say, because couldn't we have a system, which I have always envisaged in my head, of where employers work with schools to actually create the curriculum, and then instead of having a league table of grades, you have a league table of what people went on to in their jobs.
Right.
So I'm with you 100%, and we've got all these apprenticeships that now employers are helping to co-create, as if the rest of the school system, and like the maths curriculum, is somehow utterly divorced from helping children prepare for what they're going to be doing in their career. So I think that's absolutely right, and it's the way that we should be moving the system.
I want to ask you now
Great idea, Steph.
Yeah, good. I keep telling everyone about it, but no one listens to me.
Steph for PM, Steph for PM.
I'll
be your education secretary.
Thank you. When Gavin Williamson was education secretary, do you remember him?
Yeah.
I went to see him about it, and he did all the lip service of yeah, and then nothing happened. Anyway, talking about education, I want to stick with it because a junior school in Wiltshire has been criticised for introducing rules for behaviour that some are saying are like a North Korean prison camp. So these are some of the things. So children as young as 7 must walk with their hands behind their backs to stop them running. Also, Russell's nodding along here, this is worrying. Also, in the papers, a secondary school in Essex has banned all physical contact between pupils. So hugs and handshakes are out. I'd be pleased about that, you know me. I hate a hug. And so are romantic relationships between pupils. They were some of my best ones.
Down the bike shed.
I want to know what the lunchmates think about this. Guys, Fizana, what do you reckon to this?
So I was a police officer working in schools, and it was one of my favourite jobs, actually. And there was one particular academy that was opened in Bradford. So I had 5 schools I worked with in the week. So I went to this new school on the Wednesday, and I could not believe the difference. So this particular school would not allow, at break time, it was complete silence, exchanging between pupils. It was very swift as well, so they got to lessons on time. Education was incredible at the end of the academic year.
Exactly.
Behaviour, tick. Honestly, it was incredible. And for me, to have the other schools and see this, it was amazing. And all the other schools were watching because now this chain has grown massive. The children want to be at these schools because of their performance.
Tamara, you went to a really strict school, didn't you?
I did. I went to a strict private boarding school. And we did have restrictions, things like hugging culturally anyway, like us growing up, hugging was like, even seeing your parents hug is like, so hugging for us, no hugging, any kind of physical contact. We could high-five each other, and anytime you saw a senior, it could be a grade higher than you or 2 grades higher than you. It's always morning senior, afternoon senior. You'd be reprimanded for not greeting them, so it kind of showed a sign of respect. Your uniform had to be leveled a certain way, so every morning would kneel to make sure that our skirts touched the floor, they were not above our knees. But
This sounds scary.
I think
When did the sorting hat come out?
I get it. It was strict in a way, but I mean, it's shaped.
Yeah.
It shaped me how I view the world, because I always have respect for people, always. And it also showed me how to present myself in a certain setting.
Yeah, but my school wasn't strict, and you know, I mean, they let us get away with smoking in the loos and all sorts.
Oh my God. Never.
And I've turned out all right, and I think I respect people.
What percent of your school? It's been studied countless times. I know it's unfashionable, but there is a correlation between discipline and academic outcome.
Yeah, but it depends
there is.
It depends on the discipline, because if it's authoritarian discipline, where there's no answering back and there's no question, that has been proven psychologically to result in depression, eating disorders.
Well, authoritarianism isn't discipline, is it? It's about making sure uniforms are turned out, getting to places on time, not disrespecting each other. Basic
that's
things like that. Yeah,
but that sounds, if it's comparing it to a North Korean
do you know what's happening now?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to win. You're not allowed to win at school in case it hurts someone else's feelings. It's like you're going to be in the workplace one day. You're going to have to wear a tie. You're going to have to turn up on time. And guess what?
Or maybe
Someone's going to
not.
get promoted and you might not. Start learning as quickly as possible, because then when you hit life, you're going to be ready for some of the challenges.
Should we lighten the mood a bit?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. We're going to talk about photoshopping, because I want to know what you think of this, Justine. So the business secretary, Grant Shapps, has been caught doing a bit of photoshopping. He put out a picture of himself at the Spaceport Centre in Cornwall. This is ahead of the rocket launch, which didn't manage to launch, there on Monday, but he erased one key detail from the original picture. Have a look. So on the left is the original, which was taken when Boris Johnson was still Prime Minister.
Amazing.
On the right is the Photoshop one put out on Monday.
Wow.
Is it OK to Photoshop people out of pictures?
No. If anything, put a poo emoji over the face if you want to get back at it. That's what I would do. It's history, isn't it? You can't change history.
Yeah.
That's
but
bad, isn't it?
I mean, do you ever Photoshop pictures?
Where's that rocket going? Uranus. And I've had a few. Put it this way: at my wedding, my best man wore shorts, formal from the way up, and shorts. Let's just say Lindsay didn't feature him too heavily in the album that followed of our wedding pictures. So that was pretty serious.
Yeah.
I've been framed out of shots before. That happens
For legal
have
reasons.
you?
A major, obviously I don't want to say which show, but it was a major ITV show, major stars on, and I'd performed as part of the lineup at the end. You know, when you go out and all bow together, and in front of 5,000 people, I was told to go closer to the Christmas tree so they could frame me out in case I didn't make the edit. And sure enough, I was cut out of the show, and when it went out on TV, everyone's bowing. I'm next to the Christmas tree bowing.
I know someone who's done that. Richard and Neil. Didn't you do that on your wedding?
What we do is, if people come and the couples and they're with a new partner and you don't know how long they're going to be, you stand them at the end so you can
Same
crop them off.
philosophy.
Same as what so we put them by the Christmas tree, but there was no Christmas tree there. But I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Stick 'em at the end. And
Kenzo,
Hang on a second, you're sat far apart now. You're going to frame one of you out?
Yes, this is it. We can frame Neil out.
OK, DM
What we decided was, with the photographer, we invited people, and obviously if they've got their partners, they want to bring their partners. They've only been with them a couple of months. We've now only been married just over a year, and 6 people who came to our wedding are no longer together. 6 couples.
You see.
They are now edited out.
And can I just quickly say, Kenzo, as well, you sit down, don't you, as a family, every year and go through all the people that need taken out of albums?
We
It's
do.
true. If
We
you
sure
don't make
do.
the cut, then...
You don't make the cut.
So
you
put them on the
edit it.
sides, just in case anything happens. I mean, life happens. So
Yeah.
if you don't make the cut, then, hey...
All the X's are out.
All the X's
out.
are out. The
Brilliant.
friends, so that we purposely take pictures with them on the side, so that when we reevaluate the pictures after a year, they're easily cropped
The
out.
closer to the edge, the more likely I am to be cut. Wow, brutal.
Right. I love that. Right, still to come. Looking younger is the promise you get from loads of beauty products, but chances are you don't need them. Dr. Felia is here to show us the three simple things that will give you a glow up so you don't have to spend a fortune. And after Celine Dion made headlines when she revealed she suffers from a rare autoimmune condition called stiff person syndrome, we meet the woman who also has it. It causes her entire body to seize up like a statue. We'll be chatting to her after the break. Hello, welcome back. So we're going to talk now about a rare medical condition that can easily go undiagnosed because the symptoms are so common. So they include things like back pain, stiffness and muscle spasms. Now, for some, these symptoms are part of a progressive disease called stiff person syndrome. Now, you might have heard about it because the singer Celine Dion recently revealed she has been diagnosed with it. Let's have a look.
I've been diagnosed with a very rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome, which affects something like 1 in a million people. We now know this is what's been causing all of the spasms that I've been having. These spasms affect every aspect of my daily life, sometimes causing difficulties when I walk and not allowing me to use my vocal cords to sing the way I'm used to.
Gosh, you can really see there how distressed Celine looks explaining that. Well, joining me now is Tracy Riley, who was diagnosed with stiff person syndrome 4 years ago, and Dr Neshika Samarasekera, who is a consultant neurologist at the University of Edinburgh. Thanks both for joining us. Doctor, can I just start with you on explaining this? Because those symptoms, as I say, are very common. There might be people at home suddenly going, oh my goodness, is this what I've got? But this is really rare, isn't it?
Yeah, so stiff person syndrome, as you said, it's a very rare autoimmune condition. It only affects 1 or 2 per million. And we're looking for, as a neurologist, looking for particular characteristics. So although stiffness and back pain are quite common symptoms, we're looking for very particular things. Stiffness is predominantly in the torso and the lower back, which gives people a very distinct way of walking that's rather wooden. Sometimes they call it a wooden soldier or a tin soldier way of walking, and spasms, which are quite an unusual symptom because they tend to be triggered by certain things, such as loud noise or sometimes emotional stress. So it's a very rare condition.
And what causes it?
Well, so as you alluded to, it's an autoimmune illness, and an autoimmune disease is when the body's natural defence mechanisms, which should be looking out for a disease, mistakenly attacks the normal part of your own body. So in stiff person syndrome, the effect of that autoimmune response is that it makes the nerves more excitable, so that the muscles that are being fed by those nerves can then go into spasm and can become rather stiff. Like Tracy, sufferers can have other autoimmune conditions alongside it, and that might be something Tracy expands on, but you could have autoimmune thyroid disease and autoimmune other conditions alongside stiff person syndrome.
Yeah, and it's probably a good time to bring Tracy in. Tracy, so this is something you live with then. Yes. Can you just explain about getting this diagnosis and kind of what your life was like beforehand and what happened?
Well, I think my life was quite normal beforehand. I was quite active. I went to the gym, parked my car on a Friday night, I left it there till the Monday. I walked everywhere, never questioned any of this. I had a demanding job. I travelled up and down the UK all week. Went to work on a Sunday, come back on a Friday. So generally went to work pulling suitcase. I was well known for my very high heels, with stilettos, which I painfully had to give them all away. But all of that to me, that was just normal. That was just life.
Yeah.
And then the back pain started. Now, I'd had back pain since I was 18 years old, so I knew what back pain felt like, but this was different. And obviously, when the back pain started, I initially just assumed it was from running across airports, late for a flight, pulling a suitcase behind me in very high heels. But this then, it wasn't going away. But as well as not going away, it seemed to be affecting me in a completely different way to back pain had affected me before. So where with back pain, it's usually, obviously it's your lower back. You tend to get shooting pains going down your legs. You tend to be quite stooped as well. This was having the absolutely opposite effect on me. So what I had was this knot in the small of my back that was extremely tight, and instead of being stooped, I actually had the opposite problem, where I couldn't bend. And it started off, you know, I couldn't pick something up. But then it got to the stage where I couldn't tie my own shoes, I couldn't put my own socks on, I was struggling to get dressed. Yeah. And obviously I was attending my GP, but because it was back pain, I was being referred to a physiotherapist. And the physio had given me exercises to do, but the exercises mainly involved stretching the small of my back out. But the small of my back felt like I had this really taut elastic band, and it just couldn't stretch any further. It felt like it would snap. So the physio was actually making it even worse. But as well as the back pain not getting any better, all these other things started to happen. I could actually see these visible tremors actually running through my legs. They were really quite visible running through my legs. I started to have trouble walking. So I started to have trouble literally moving one leg in front of the other. I felt as if it was taking this huge effort to put one leg in front of the other. My balance was really becoming an issue as well, where I'd suddenly find myself just having a bit of a wobble and having to grab something. And the balance issues combined with this effort in having to walk, it was actually now beginning to result in me getting stuck. So if, for example, where I live, the town centre is all undercover, so it's quite busy and it's quite a confined space. Something as simple as someone walking past me and maybe brushing my bag or brushing my shoulder, I would literally freeze to the spot. And I literally could not put one leg in front of the other. And then it would maybe take 30 seconds or so, and then I would manage to walk on again. But usually I would be walking towards a window to hold on to something. So all of this was progressing over a good maybe year or so, and I was back and forward with the doctor, back and forward with the physio.
This must be so scary as well, these things happening to you.
Well, it starts to affect you. The anxiety that's related with stiff person syndrome, a lot of that anxiety is actually, it's related to the circumstances that you're going to find yourself in.
Yeah.
But I had a couple of really quite serious incidents where one of them, I was home alone and I lived in a house at the time. I've since had to move to a ground floor flat. But I got stuck upstairs at home on my own with both of my phones downstairs. And I just had to wait, I just had to ride it out. But the real crunch point came that I was away for a conference and staying in a hotel. One of my colleagues was with me and we'd arranged to meet for breakfast in the morning, and I never turned up. So eventually I did turn up. And what had happened was I couldn't walk. So I'd managed to feel my way along the corridor to the lift and get downstairs to the ground floor. But when I got out the lift, I had nothing. So that was me, I was stuck.
God, it sounds awful.
I swear, if you'd stood 2 steps in front of me with £1 million and said, Tracy, if you walk towards me, you can have this £1 million, I wouldn't have gotten £1 million.
And the scary thing about it is all the different elements of this, as the doctor was saying as well, like touch and sound, and we've had to be really careful in the studio today not to do any noises that might affect you. So, I mean, now your life, is there a way of controlling it? Is there any treatment or anything? How do you look after yourself?
Well, after the day that I got stuck in the hotel, that was the day that I thought, right, enough is enough, and changed direction in my treatment. And that's obviously when I was referred to a neurologist, who, I have to say, this lady has changed my life because she recognised this Tin Man gait. And the best way to describe that is if you can imagine having your upper body in a full body brace and both of your legs in splints at the same time and trying to walk like that. That's what the gait looks like. So she recognised this in me at a very early stage. Obviously did several tests for observation, diagnosed me with diazepam very, very quickly, literally that afternoon. when the diagnosis was confirmed, which was on a Friday afternoon. On the Monday, my boss came to visit me at home. Now, my employer had been fantastic. They'd been with me through this whole journey. He came to see me at home. He had never seen me so nimble before. And that was the effect of the diazepam. Almost immediately, because it relaxed those muscles.
Yeah. And gosh, and obviously you're on that now to just...
That's right.
Yeah, keep going. Well, thank you so much for coming in to talk about it, because I imagine there'll be people watching, you know, who... I know it's incredibly rare, but... Well, you know, there might be someone watching who this affects as well. So thank you so much for coming in to talk about it. Thank you very much as well, Doctor. Loads more still to come on the show. We'll see you after the break. Hello, welcome back. Still to come, it is a big day. We're going to be revealing who the new host of Countdown is. There they are, flexing their puzzle muscles. Find out who it is later in the show. And she's great with numbers. Sonali Shah is here with the latest consumer news, including how you could save 40 quid a year with a prescription season ticket. That's coming up later in our Cash Clinic. Now, our next guest is a writer who has helped make hit TV shows, including EastEnders, This Life and Teachers, and has written a dozen novels, one of which is now being turned into a musical. Jane Fallon is here to tell us about her latest book, Just Got Real. Lovely to see you, Jane.
Hey.
This is exciting, because I love chatting to writers, because I find it amazing how you manage to get out so many books and think of all these brilliant ideas you do. So tell us about the latest one.
So the latest one, Just Got Real, is about a woman who's persuaded by her teenage daughter to do online dating for the first time after her marriage falls apart. And because she's nervous and a bit insecure, she uses someone else's picture. But she meets a guy that she gets on really well with. He wants them to meet up. And she goes along and she thinks, well, I'll kind of hide in the shadows and I'll see he's bound to be a bit fatter or older or balder or something. And he says he is. But he looks exactly like he's supposed to look. So she bottles it and she leaves. But she really liked him, so she decides to contrive a way to meet him in real life without him knowing who she is.
Yeah.
And when she does, she discovers that basically the only real thing about him was his photo and everything else that he told her was a lie. Ooh.
I love that from the lunchmates. Oh, they're gripped.
Yeah, I like it. I love it. And also that he's dating 2 other women as well and stringing them along in the same way. So she gets in touch with them and they all kind of get together to get them back.
Right, so come on, where did this idea come from? Has this happened to someone you know?
Not fully formed, but a lot of my friends are doing online dating. I think it's, you know, you've been in a relationship for a long time and you come out of it and you're a certain age, and online dating is the way everything seems to happen these days. So they're all really daunted by it, and I just get their stories out of them.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of great kind of online dating stories. Every time I see them, I'm like, OK, tell me every single date you've had, every conversation you've had. So I was just kind of... You know, and I was putting myself in that position, how scary would it be if you've never done online dating and you're 50 or older?
Yes.
Like, it's really terrifying.
Yeah. And that's the thing, I imagine as well, when you listen to all these stories, there are probably some that your mates are telling you that you think, I can't put that in because it doesn't sound even real. Like, I can't believe that's happened to you. People won't believe it if they read it in a book.
Yeah, one of my friends had a thing where she was talking to this guy and they'd kind of moved on to phone calls, you know, it'd been going on for a while. And he let slip after a conversation that every time he talked to one of the women that he was speaking to, because he was speaking to many, he would mark the conversation out of 10. And he had a little notebook and he'd put down all the scores, and at the end of the week, he'd add them up and then he'd get rid of the ones that weren't doing so well.
There's something I quite like about the science of that.
Spreadsheet, everything, yeah.
Yeah, because why not? How else to work it all out? So when you're coming up with your ideas for the books, it is a case then of just trying to absorb information from all your mates all the time. But do you find yourself like listening to other people's conversations? So you like, even though if you're on a transport or whatever, you're listening in?
Yeah, I'm terrible. I'm that person that's always, I'm just sitting there pretending to look at my phone and I'm listening to every single thing that anyone's saying. Cafes, anywhere that I can find people.
Yeah.
Because also my friends won't tell me anything anymore because they know that I'm going to put it in my books. So I have to do that. But also I've now got them all out like a little kind of network of moles. They're all out asking their friends for stories. So they'll come back to me with all of that stuff.
And all listening in.
Yeah.
I like that. And in terms of your writing then, how often are you writing? Like, do you write every day?
Yeah, I write something every day. Like for me, it just helps to stay sort of in the loop of it and have the book in my head all the time. So some days I'll feel really uninspired, so what I'll write will be kind of not very good, but I know that I can go back and make it better. Or if I feel really stuck one day, I go back and I pick a random section of what I've written already and I'll read that and work on it. But I do something every day just to sort of keep the book floating around in my head.
And do you have a place where you write? Because I always like picturing where, you know, people are writing. Do you do a certain time of day? What's your setup? Do you listen to music or anything like that?
Oh, no. No, I have a certain time of day, which is early in the morning. So I tend to write my first drafts in the spring and summer, and I'm a really early riser, so I'm up at like 5 o'clock. Writing and silence. That's why I do it so early in the morning, so I can have silence. And just picture me in my pyjamas on the sofa, because that's about as glamorous as it gets.
On your sofa as well. I like that. And what I mentioned at the beginning there, that one of your books has been turned into a musical. Explain this. This sounds great.
It's crazy. My agent got a call out of the blue from the Malmö Opera House in Sweden, saying that they're making a Roxette musical, the band Roxette, who were huge in the 80s, 90s. And if they were to base it on, if they were to base it on one of my books, would I be interested? And honestly, I smiled for about 3 weeks. Like, I love musical theatre, I love Scandinavia, I'm so excited. So yeah, it's happening, it's scheduled in for next year.
That's such a random, like, call, though, to have got, I imagine, like, you know,
I actually thought it was a hoax. I laughed when he told me, because I thought it was a hoax, or I thought someone had pranked him, like someone had phoned and said, "Oh, tell Jane we're doing this." But no, I've been over, I've met them all, it's all...
so that's going to come out next year, is it then?
Next September, yeah.
Yeah, exciting. And with your writing, I mentioned as well that you've also written a lot for TV and produced in telly. You left that completely, didn't you, to become a novelist? Why did you do that? And is there... Because I can imagine a load of your books being TV shows.
Yeah, hopefully, at some point. They've all been optioned quite a few times, but this was always my dream. This was always my secret ambition, the novel writing. And the TV work, I kind of fell into it a bit by accident, but then it was kind of a good way of getting my fix of stories and, you know, writing and all that kind of thing without having to stick my neck out there and actually write a novel. And I didn't even tell anyone I wanted to be a novelist because I thought it was so ridiculous. So I did TV for like 20 years and I really loved it. But then I got to a point where I just thought, at some point, I've got to just give it a go. Otherwise, you know, I've gone my whole life and I never will have even tried. Even though I'd started a lot of novels and they were all terrible and I'd thrown them away. So yeah, I think it was like to do with the menopause. I got weirdly brave one day and I thought, this is it.
And did you literally just quit the telly and start writing the novel?
Kind of. That's the sort of glamorous version. Actually, I was freelance, so I just thought, well, I'll take a year out. And then I knew I could slip back in, so it wasn't quite as brave as it sounds. And I also waited till I'd had the idea for the first book, Getting Rid of Matthew, and I knew that was the idea I thought I could make work. And then I stormed in and said, right, I'm leaving.
And I've got 2 quick-fire questions for you. Is it true you cartwheel every year to check you're still fit?
I do, to see if I'm old yet, because I don't know at what point you work out you're old. So I think as long as I can still do a cartwheel, I can kind of...
And you can still do a cartwheel?
Just about.
I mean, I stopped being able to do them at about the age of 14.
You've got to start again.
I know, I need to start again.
Practice.
And is it true you and your partner want to open an animal sanctuary?
One day, yeah, that's what I'd really like to do.
Yeah.
I love animals, and I have this dream of me sort of sitting there surrounded by sad old pigs and, you know, chickens.
I love the thought of you and Ricky Gervais sat there in a farm surrounded by pigs. Yeah. Then someone will want to make a TV show about it and write a book, won't they? Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming in. And I should say as well, Jane's book, Just Got Real, is out now. Now, still to come, if you want to banish your wrinkles in 2023, then dermatologist Dr. Ophelia is going to show us 3 simple things she keeps in her bathroom cabinet and how to use them as well. And our Sonali Shah is here with her cash clinic.
Yes, that's right. I'm going to tell you how you could be missing out on more than £3,000 a year if you're a pensioner, and have an income of under £200 a week. So see you after the break.
Lovely. We'll get you a glass of water as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you after the break. Hello, welcome back. So we have some very exciting news for you. We're going to be revealing the new host of Countdown. Yeah, there they are. Any guesses who it could be? That may or may not be a wig that they're wearing. Now, if you can't wait to find out, here's a hint. They were once part of a weekday double act alongside a famous Scot. That's as much as I'm giving you for now. Ooh. Plus, crunching the numbers today, it's our Sonali.
So we've got sun plus sand plus... We're daytime. Should we go with sangria Yeah. Equals holiday. It is January, up to £300 off, and I'll be telling you all about that in my cash clinic.
Lovely. Annie's always looking up rude words in Dictionary Corner. John, wait, what have you got?
I've got a 70 here, 70p that is, for a bag of oranges, 5 oranges, and I'm going to turn them into a pudding that makes its own sauce. It's magic.
Oh, lovely. Hey, lots of giggles. Now, if you get totally confused when you're in the beauty aisle with all the lotions and potions that promise to make you look younger, then consultant dermatologist Dr. Ophelia is going to shed some light on it all now for us. Lovely to see you. So you have, I mean, there are so many products, aren't there? But
confusing.
Yeah, it is really confusing. And we're talking about some of the ingredients in them, aren't we, today? Because collagen is the one we keep hearing about a lot. And we've got some collagen gummies, are they here?
Yeah,
and
gummies, drinks,
as well.
tablets. You can get it in every form now. And it's a good one to start with because you want to know, of course, whether it works or
does
not.
it work?
Short answer, no.
Right.
The reason is so collagen, what is it? It's a protein that we have in our skin. It declines from our 20s.
Yeah.
And because it provides structure to our skin, the loss of collagen leads to loss of volume, and that makes us look older. So what's happened is beauty industry has got hold of that piece of science, and they've started putting it in all these different products that we see everywhere. However, if you drink it and ingest it and absorb it into your blood, it doesn't mean that collagen makes it into your skin. So that's the thing. It doesn't really work. But there are studies to support it, but the evidence really isn't there. It's not something that we would recommend as an anti-aging product.
Yeah, so the evidence isn't really there for collagen as a digestible.
Yeah, and they're expensive, and most of them come from animals. Products are ground up animal skin or hooves and things. So, I mean, that part of the collagen supplements doesn't get advertised as much. Yeah.
Russell was desperate to be in this section, weren't you?
Yeah, just, sorry, I haven't had my collagen. So, what about hyaluronic acid? It's not just for chemistry when you're at school, is it? What is hyaluronic acid?
So, hyaluronic acid is a humectant, which means that it attracts water to your skin. So, it's a very good moisturiser.
So this one works, does it?
It's a good moisturiser, but it's not the wonder ingredient that is being, everywhere on social media as it will make you younger. But it's good for rehydrating and plumping the skin. Not a bad
But it's
ingredient.
not just like a magic bullet that's going to do everything in that one serum. That's the thing, isn't it? So, Joyce, you wanted to ask something, didn't you?
Yes. How does it actually work?
So how does it actually work with
the?
You wanted to ask about the snail stuff, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So
right.
moving on, Joyce.
So it's just a general philosophical question.
Right, do we?
What planet we're on? How does it work?
Right, so Joyce was saying to me before, there's something called snail mucus or snail snot that people are trying out. How does it work?
It's a fad.
I'll do your job, Joyce.
And also, won't it be a bit slow from the snail?
Oh, very funny.
See, that's it. She was so focused on the gag.
Yeah. Always do the setup first, Joyce. That's where I went wrong. You need
So go on then.
Tiny tissues to collect it. Just walk around in front of snails. Got some.
Right, the serious science now. This is genuinely, some people are using snail mucus.
It used to be really popular, something that came across from Korea. And you may have heard about the snail facials that were being promoted previously, but they don't really work. In my skin clinic, I've had a number of patients who've come to me with really bad breakouts and flares of their skin with using these products. So it's actually one ingredient I would probably stay away from.
Oh, right, OK. I think I'm relieved about that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm glad you weren't going to say that one. So what should we be using on our faces then? Because you've picked out, like, the key...
Yes.
The 3 key things that you think that are not going to cost you a load of money, but are going to do the job. Yeah.
So I think most dermatologists would agree that there are 3 main ingredients that you need to have in your skincare regime if you want to have an effective anti-aging regime. And we've got a selection here. It's just a selection, and actually there's loads on the market, and they don't need to cost a bomb as well. So what I would recommend is that after cleansing you would start with your antioxidant. So I think we're going to use Russell as a model.
I mean, it's a finished palette, so Not much improvement. we do what we can.
So this is what you do in the morning then?
Yeah, so we pretend it's, morning,
Just
you've washed
woken
your
up.
face.
It is for a stand-up. This is 9 a.m. to me.
So gentle cleanser, something, maybe a cream one, and dab dry with a clean towel.
Yep.
And then I would recommend to use some kind of antioxidant. So what's that? Something with vitamin C or vitamin E in it. And they help reverse the DNA damage that you get from the sun and the environment during the day.
And then how do you put it on so that you've got drops there?
Yeah, so they normally come in little serum bottles like this. And you just need a few drops. So put them onto dry skin. Should we put some on?
Do you put them on directly on the face or on your hands?
On the hand.
Probably on the hand, as long as your hands are clean.
I feel like I'm getting a free facial here.
So you just need...
How have you been? You've been on holiday? Yeah. It's been busy, hasn't it?
Yeah, so you only need 3 or 4 drops and massage. But actually, don't forget the neck area. I mean, you've got your way.
I've got my problem area here. A lot of men get this bit starting. This is my area. Can it help with that?
The creams won't, no. But there are other things that can sort that out.
My lost cause, is that what
No, but it's important to protect the skin because the damage from the UV rays will make the skin looser, and then things like this will become more of a problem as you get older. So these steps are really important.
So that first step, after you've woken up in the morning, you've washed your face, and then you put on an antioxidant in the form of
so vitamin C, E. There's loads available,
and and you've got a few of them there. What's next?
So now this is the most important group. It's to wear an SPF. So factor 30 to 50 every day.
Yeah.
Most importantly, it protects you from the risk of getting skin cancer. But the second reason is it's a super powerful anti-aging ingredient.
Does it make any difference what skin type you got? Because Lindsay's like part Italian, she's darker than me. I'm a bit lighter. My daughter's dark. Does it make any difference if you've got light skin? Are you more at risk?
So everybody needs to protect their skin. So people with darker skin types can also get skin cancer, and then also we get other problems with sun-induced changes such as pigmentation and things like that. And
so SPF obviously comes in lots of different products as well. So obviously that is a cream you've got there.
Yeah.
If you've got like a foundation you use that has SPF in,
that's really good as well. So
would you use that in addition, or would you? Because you don't have to, do you?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to. So products are becoming really nice to use now. So if you're wearing coverage makeup with an SPF in it, then you wouldn't need to have a separate.
I'll ask a dim question, but I've just been in the sunshine, and when I put that on, I don't feel as protected as if I put SPF pure sun cream on. Does that protect me as much as an SPF 30 sun cream? Just as fully?
This is a 30.
Yeah, I know, but because it's built into my moisturiser, like, oh, that's a cosmetic product, I don't feel fully protected.
Yeah, I mean, there's really stringent testing.
OK, great. It's good to know.
For companies allowed to say that they're 30, so it doesn't really matter whether it's a sunblock, a moisturiser, or in a makeup.
How much do you put on then?
So you're supposed to put 1/3 of a teaspoon on for face and 6 to 7 teaspoons for body. Obviously, in the summertime, you don't need to put sunblock on during the winter.
Wake up and see me with a teaspoon.
Yes. Yeah. So you want.
And then there was a third thing you had as well for us. What's that?
So, dermatologist's favourite ingredient is retinol. And what is retinol? It's a vitamin A-derived active ingredient. And it's very effective at reducing fine lines, wrinkles, and the sun-related pigmentation that you get as you get older. It's very good for acne as well.
So when do you put that on?
So it breaks down in the sunlight, so you put it on at night time after cleansing, and you use a small amount, so you go lowest strength possible and build up slowly.
So it comes in different percentages then? Yes. So you just start with because that's the percentage of retinol that's in it?
Exactly. Right. So what happens is if you pile it on, you will peel and you'll never use it again.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is choose the lowest percentage and maybe you just use it once or twice a week. Once your skin is tolerating it, then you move up to trying to use it every night if you can, and it's super effective.
And is the percentage dependent, do you need to change it depending on what your skin tone is like as well?
No.
Right.
No, it does not depend on that.
You should use it in the winter, I was told, as well.
Yes.
Because the next day you could still have it in your skin, couldn't you? A little?
Yeah. So in summary then, you've got your vitamin, your antioxidants, your vitamin C and E. that you'd use on a morning along with your SPF, and then on an evening, a key ingredient is retinol.
Exactly.
To get into your...
Yeah.
Excellent. And don't worry about all the drinks and all the gummies and all that.
Yes, exactly.
Excellent. Ophelia, thank you very much. Still to come, we've got some very exciting news to share. We're going to reveal the new host of Countdown live on the show, and in true Countdown style, we've got the answer hidden in a conundrum. Pens at the ready, everyone. Here we go. Well, I can tell from that John doesn't have a clue. Did you get it at home, though? If you did, get in touch with us. We will reveal the answer and, of course, meet the person in question. All right, after the break. Hello, welcome back. Now it's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. We set you a countdown conundrum before the break to find out who the new host is of the hit quiz show. Here it is again. Lots of people have been guessing. Someone suggested Lauren Laverne. I don't think there's enough letters in that for that, is there? Another Denise Van Outen again. A few key letters missing there. Matt Lucas, someone here thought that. Romesh Ranganathan was also on the list. I can reveal that the new host of Countdown is... Colin Oh, we okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
How are you?
Well, this... Oh, I've just missed Sophie's come down. I'm just sat in it like riding a donkey. That's one for the bloopers.
I didn't think you'd be that excited.
It's funny, Colin, hanging out with you because we've kind of followed each other in our jobs, haven't we, at Five Live?
Yeah.
And, you know, like,
Crazy.
copied each other through the channels.
And you're like my, afternoon sister.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like the two shows are
I'm your
very similar.
warm-up act, basically, aren't I?
No, I'm the comedian that goes on last because all the good ones have got another gig.
Ah, this was your dream job, wasn't it, getting this?
Yeah, I'm an accidental radio presenter, then an accidental TV presenter as a print journalist. So I moved to London, properly, with clothes on the end of a stick.
Yeah.
And I had to get an agent. So I got an agent. And I actually picked this agent because she looked after Richard Whiteley, the late, great Richard Whiteley. And she said, you have to write a biog, a little biography of yourself. There wasn't much in it, criminal record by 13, that type of thing. And at the end, I wrote, Colin's ambition is to one day host Countdown. And she was like, what are you talking about? You can't write that. You've just got a job at Radio 1. I was like, no, that's the only kind of ambition I have. So, yeah, it is pretty surreal. To be part of the family on Dictionary Corner was amazing enough.
Yeah.
And then to be sitting in that chair as the caretaker for the last 6 months has never really passed being surreal.
Yeah. And because you used to watch it when you were a kid, didn't you, as well?
Yeah, I used to absolutely love it. I suppose it was like a Trojan horse of education. And I was just a rip at school, I couldn't sit still. I was a jack in the box, I was always a bit behind because I had to go to speech therapy and stuff like that because I was hyperactive. And yeah, I'd always rush home and I loved it. I loved doing it. It used to be on later. And I used to love it. It was cheeky, it was irreverent. There was probably jokes that went over my head then. Richard Whiteley was the king of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I loved it. It was such a staple diet and it's just had its 40th anniversary. So I get to see it in its fifth decade.
Yeah.
But being honest, I think it's like a football team that used to win loads of trophies. And I wanted to win those trophies again. We've just had, December was the highest overall rating since 2012.
Wow.
And I mean, that's not me, that's just, I love it, and you have to love it. And the three of us love it.
Yeah.
And we genuinely care so much about the show. We want it to really thrive.
Yeah.
And sort of return to the days where it won everything, in the afternoon.
Were you gutted, though, when you didn't get the job when Anne Robinson did?
Officially, no. But, I mean, I ordered the dartboard with a face on. Yeah, of course. I thought at the time, I filled in for Nick when he had COVID.
Yeah.
If ever there was a silver lining in the pandemic, that was it. And And
Nick's all right, by the way.
and he's been brilliant. He's been so brilliant.
Yeah.
Tweeting out loads of support and stuff. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed, and then I wasn't on Dictionary Corner when Anne was on for whatever reason. So yeah, it's good to get it. But you know what? Like when Anne left, it was quite short notice. And it's like when a big name manager leaves, you want another big name manager like Jurgen Klopp or Emma Hayes, but you have to put a squad member in. And that's what I think happened with me when Anne left. Just put in someone who's been around a bit. They'll hold the fort for a bit. And then the problem comes when it does well. Oh, no, we're going to have to give it to the no mark.
But everyone loves you, though, because when we said... You're definitely not the no mark. When we said yesterday we were revealing who the Countdown host was, honestly, I got so many things, texts saying, it better be Colin Murray or I'm never watching it again.
Yeah.
I hope they're not bringing it... It needs to be Colin Murray. Like, you've got so many fans out there who love you doing it.
Do you know what it is? You can't lie to people. They know when it's fake, and they know when someone's being fake. And I love it. And there's 1,000 people could... I mean, Russell could present it better than I could, but no, I don't think there's very many people could love it as much.
Yeah.
And it's like this, right?
Just to be clear, I would love it equally. I would love it equally as well. I had Cillian Murphy, so I'm gutted.
Here, you've got a thing on the wall upstairs that says what the show is, and it says, like, never forget the viewer. That's the most important thing. And that's the key. Like, it doesn't have to be good every day.
Yeah.
Countdown's not good every day, but it's real, and we love it, and we're a family, and we're afternoon company. I mean, look what John's cooking today. I mean, I'm not having that at a dinner party, right? Do you know what I mean? It's like you said at the start, he's like, it ain't great. I love that.
Yeah,
it's real.
You've got to be authentic, haven't you?
Yeah.
You've had quite the career, though, because you've written for Noel Gallagher, haven't you, back in the day?
Oh, yeah, that's a random thing, yeah. So when I was, like, in my early teens and putting on... Oh, my goodness me.
Look at that picture.
Everyone's like, why Sue Perkins interviewing Noel Gallagher? Yeah, it was weird. I remember they played the Limelight in Belfast, and that week definitely maybe blew up. And me and two of my mates were the next to get in.
Yeah.
And they put the rope up and said it's sold out. It was like a 400 capacity. And we were walking away, and this guy we were with said, feeling supersonic, give me gin and tonic, that'll never be famous. You know? Then fast forward all these years, I'm working at Radio 1, and they asked me to write the biography for Don't Believe the Truth. And I ended up just working in their office around the corner from Radio 1, which was weird.
Yeah.
Like, Noel had a desk, and they just released Lila. Hey, Lila. You have to pay for that now.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the budget.
Thanks.
And I remember Noel saying to me, the enemy have asked who Lila is. What should we say? And I went, Sally's sister? And he went, yeah, that'll do. And they put it out. So it was one of those surreal moments, really, yeah.
Excellent. Oh, well, it's so lovely to have you in. Will you come back again when you...
Listen, I would love to.
Yeah.
We do it in Manchester Countdown. Any Thursday, as long as Russell's not on. Any Thursday, I'm willing to come over.
And you're
Meeting John's brilliant, by the way.
Are you going to hang around now you've slagged off his cook?
Yeah. Listen, I love it. I love an orange dessert. Like, I like that.
Well, we'll put that to the test in a bit.
It ain't looking good at the moment, is it?
There's
nothing here.
Excellent. You're going to stick around for us, Colin, but thank you so much. And you can watch Colin in action on Countdown straight after Steph's Pack Lunch here on Channel 4. Lots more still to come. See you after the break. Hello, welcome back. We're going to have a look at some of the stories we spotted because this one, this one made me laugh out loud, to be honest. It's about driving fails in particular. So it's a driver who ended up getting ferried across the Thames by a boat because she thought she was driving onto a bridge. Let's have a look at it.
I literally cannot cope with myself. I have just tried to cross the River Thames on what I thought was a road, and I have actually ended up on a ferry. Like, I'm on a ferry. I'm on a ferry. Like, I'm just trying to commute. I'm just trying to commute to work. I thought it was a road, and I'm on a freaking ferry. So, I can't even how. Anyway, I'm going to go and enjoy my boat ride.
I love how matter-of-fact she is. And technically, she still was crossing the Thames, wasn't she? It's just different to what she thought. What are you like with driving, Colin?
I didn't take my test until my early 30s. just because my brain, I didn't trust myself because I can disappear for half an hour. Oh, where am I? Yeah. So I passed it.
Yeah.
First time, drove back to my house, parked the car, a few friends came round, maiden journey, reversed out of the driveway straight into my neighbour's car.
Wow.
So my first journey lasted 6 metres, but who parks a green car in front of a hedge? You know what I mean? It's like earlier when John sat in this seat. He just looked like a floating head.
I mean, I'm not being funny, but you do as well.
Exactly. Right, exactly. So I think it was the neighbour's fault.
Yeah. I mean, Russell, it's Lindsay who does all the driving in your house, isn't it?
So Lindsay likes driving. That's why it's that way. I'm a good driver. Touch wood, no serious incidents, but awful at parking, the part of my brain that judges spaces. And the lowest moment has to be the day that Minna was born. We're driving to get the caesarean section done and we had to change sides at the hospital car park so Lindsay could park the car. So I got us to the hospital, but then she toddled round and parked it. And then, on our honeymoon, she did a worse one. We were driving coast to coast in America and we were so excited. First day of the honeymoon, she just drove straight the wrong way down the freeway. On the wrong side of the road. Reversed out, but the cops had seen us.
Yeah.
And then we got pulled over. I'll never forget, Lindsay just, like, popped 2 buttons down. And we both turned ultra English. We're like, sorry, officer, sorry. We completely got away with it.
Did you?
Yeah.
And no one got injured, clearly.
No one got injured. We got away with it. I was going all Hugh Grant. Oh, I've spilt my tea on my lap. Sorry, officer, what's happening? And he was like, oh, you two are so sweet. We're going to let you off with that this time. And we got away with it.
Justine, what you like driving? You took a couple of times to do your test, did you?
3 times to pass my test, and the second time I failed it because I went the wrong way. He said to go left and I went right, and I ended up on this, industrial estate in Rotherham, and I just remember him saying, you're not even on the test route now. Yeah. So I had to do this multi-point turn, never mind a 3-point turn, multi-point turn to get back on the test route, and I could tell he was going to fail me. But I got it the next time. But I've not got the world's best sense of how to read a map, and there was once I spent 2 years living in Switzerland and I drove home once and I was like, right, I've got to get to Dover or wherever it was, and so I set off on a road, and after 200 kilometres I stopped to get a coffee. I thought, I'll just check how far I've got.
Yeah.
And I suddenly thought, why am I on this road? And I'd been heading that way when I needed to head that way. And so the further I got, the worse it was going to be. Anyway, it was all fine. But, I mean, how does that happen? Genuinely. Yeah. I mean, literally, how does that happen? So I'm just not intuitive on maps.
I also have decided I'm not getting a lift home with any of you today.
Very sensible.
And instead, I'm going to go and chat to Sonali, who's in our cash clinic, because, of course, Sonali's our consumer expert back with
Past first time.
Did you? Oh, you're like the
4
SWAT.
minors. So I am. I'm a SWAT.
Yeah, you are a SWAT.
Yeah,
and that we like your SWATiness, though. It's a good attribute because you come to us with lots of money-saving deals, don't you? What have you got for us?
Hopefully. Right. There's a lot of unclaimed money lying around. So pensioners and their loved ones are being urged to take up pension credit. Apparently, there is £1.7 billion lying unclaimed. And that would be such a major income boost for so many people, especially during the cost of living crisis. Those eligible could get as much as £3,300 a year. And they think that people are not claiming it because of some of the myths out there. So if you have savings or a pension or you own a home, those are not necessarily barriers to claiming pension credit.
OK, so who is eligible then for it?
If you're of pension age and your household income is under £200 a week, so if you know someone that is, 66 or over with roughly that income, get them online, get online for them, call the pension credit claim line. I'll give you the number. It's really easy to remember. 0800 99 1234. 0800 99 1234 and see if you're due a payment. And the reason why we've spoken about this before, is that pension credit isn't just about the pension credit payment. It's sort of this gateway payment for other support, things like council tax reductions, dental and eye examinations. You could get extra energy funding help at the moment. So it's really, really, if you're not claiming for it and you're eligible, get onto it, I say.
Yeah, so it's definitely worth having a look. You've also got some news for people who have regular prescriptions.
Yeah, it turns out that more than 1 million people in England are overpaying for their prescriptions. So, again, sort of money that they should be getting or not spending that's going on. So they're missing out on up to £40 in savings because they're not buying one of these prescription season tickets. So these are these certificates. They cost £108.10 a year, or you can pay over 10 months, £10.81 a month. If you buy 12 or more prescriptions a year, you're better off buying the season ticket, and then it's all your prescriptions are included. Because at the moment, each prescription is costing £9.35. So it's worth checking out whether you'd be better off getting the season ticket.
So a season ticket means for you as an individual, then you can then get as many prescriptions as you need in that year.
Yeah, so before you check whether you need a season ticket, just check that you're not eligible for free prescriptions, because there's so many people are, again, and they don't know that they're eligible. My dad, who's a pharmacist, he actually got his pharmacy degree up the road at Bradford Uni. I messaged him earlier and said, you know, why are people not buying them? He said, actually, there's a lot of people eligible, and that's what he always points out. So he said things like, if you're 60 or over, you receive government support, like the pension credit we've just been talking about, income-based job seekers allowance. There's so, you know, you're on maternity. There's so many people who are eligible for free prescriptions. If you're not eligible, and go to your local pharmacist to check. If you're not, you go on the NHS website. Again, you can get your season ticket from your local pharmacist, or you can phone the NHS prescription service. But yeah, it's worth looking into. So that's if you get 12 or more prescriptions a year, look into buying this season ticket.
Smashing, that's good advice. Have you got some deals of the week?
Yeah, I've got a couple. It's award season in the film industry, so if you're a movie buff, you can get 5 View cinema tickets for £20. There's actually deals also for 2 or 10 tickets, any 2D movie. This is a Groupon deal, so get onto their website and it can be used for any Super Saver ticket. And actually, if you want to upgrade, you can do as well. So you just get on the Groupon website and then you go and book on the View cinema website.
So you buy
with a
the voucher from
voucher,
Groupon.
and then you get a little code,
and you
discount code, and then you use that discount code on the View cinema website. So, yeah, at the moment, there's so many good films out as well.
So how many do you get for 20 quid, did you say?
5.
Oh, yeah,
you can
that's
get
good.
2 for £9 if you only want the 2, and 10 for £38 as well.
And do you have a certain time you need to use it in?
Until March the 14th.
All right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
but any Super Saver ticket at any time. But once you go on, you can put the code in and check what you're eligible for. And if, like me, you don't make January, New Year's resolutions, but you look into what holidays you need to buy, this one's for you. EasyJet's hosting its big orange sale, so you can save money on a package holiday. If you buy a holiday more than £700, you can save £100. More than £1,500, you can save £150. If you're going all out, a holiday over £3,000, if you've got a big family, save you more than £300. I've had a look at the website. There's some good deals. Destinations like Morocco, Turkey, Croatia. So, yeah, if you're trying to look for a holiday, get on it, I say.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sonali. That's lovely. Right, should we head over to the kitchen now where... John, we've done a big build-up to this food, haven't we, John? I mean, this is going to be spectacular, this
started the show
self-saucing orange.
It is. I mean, the thing that I meant before, at the beginning of the show, I said it's a bit disappointing. I meant the self-saucing part.
Right.
You know, the pudding itself is, well, it's life-changing.
Right.
You know, to be hyperbolic. But no, it's a dead easy pudding. If you're having, like, your mates round for a Friday night or a posh dinner party, if you live in London, then you can make it in advance and bake it, like, there and then. It's amazing. So what I'm going to do is make a basic sponge mixture, a basic pudding sponge. So I'm going to start off with light brown muscovado sugar. If you've not got that in the cupboard and you want to make this now and you've got all the other ingredients, you could just use white castle sugar. That will work fine. And then this is what I get a lot of flack for, margarine, because I'm a dairy farmer's son, but a lot of people on my social media say, why are you using margarine? You're meant to be a professional chef. The reason is it's scientific. Margarine has more water in there, and sugar is hygroscopic, so it absorbs moisture out of the atmosphere, like that hyaluronic acid moisturiser that Russell loves. It absorbs moisture out of the atmosphere, so if you don't dissolve the sugar, it'll make the pudding very tense.
So could you spread margarine on your face?
Yeah.
Get the same effect?
My mum uses...
for a facial.
My mum uses udder cream on her face. And she's got this...
What's
a cream for udders on cows. She's a farmer, so she's got the udder cream
That's
for cows.
milk, isn't it?
No, udder cream.
Like... Well, that's in what you put on the udders.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing that.
Funnily enough, I've never moisturised an udder.
Moving on. So I'm going to beat the margarine. But if you are, you know, a buttery bigot and you only ever use butter, then make sure it's very, very soft. And you've got to beat it for a good 5 minutes because the butter is stiff. Make sure it's room temperature, really, really soft, and beat it for a good 5 minutes. Oh. With margarine, that kind of takes away the problem. And then to that...
Stop giggling, everyone. We're up.
Oh, it's how we're sat. We're like naughty schoolboys.
You two do look like
it looks like we've just been to a
schoolboys.
civil ceremony. We're really happy. We're just so happy.
And then
You'll be getting photoshopped out of the pictures.
Be easy just not to book him, wouldn't it? I'm joking. I'm kidding. We've not been together for ages, have we, on this show? Because they split us up.
Yeah, I know.
For legal reasons. So it's so nice to be reunited.
Yeah.
It really is. Anyway, what have I put in here?
The lady doth protest too much.
Exactly, yeah.
No, I was really enthusiastic. You just went, yeah. Anyway, in here, I've got the butter or the margarine, along with the sugar, and I've added to that some eggs, some milk. I'm going to throw in some self-raising flour as well, and then some lemon curd.
Self-raising, self-saucing. It's lazy, isn't it?
It's a really lazy pudding. It really, really is. But it,
Lemon curd?
Lemon curd, yes.
In your sponge?
In my sponge. You could, I think so. Yeah, I am. You could use orange curd, but it's a bit more expensive, and we're all about kind of shelf supermarket bargains here this week.
Yeah.
So beat that up, well, bring it together rather, into a lovely, smooth batter. And as with the cake, you don't want to overmix it, because if you overmix it, you glutenise the flour, and that's when your cake becomes tough and horrible. So just bring it together, and as soon as you've got a fairly smooth, velvety batter, you can have a few lumps of sugar here and there, you can stop. That isn't my stomach rumbling, by the way. That's the sink, if you can hear it. It's been rumbling all afternoon.
Has it?
The sink.
What's wrong with it?
It's just hungry. I don't know. You buy cheap, you buy twice, Steph. That's what I always say.
It's not true.
No, it's not true. So I've got my batter here, and all I'm going to do is put it into a greased... what's this?
Tin.
Tin. Thank you. A greased tin or roasting dish, whatever you've got. Try and stick to the size that I've prescribed on the Instagram page, in the actual recipe, because otherwise, if you bake it in a bigger tin, it's going to cook more quickly because the surface area is increased, and you're not following the recipe, basically. So it's your own fault if it goes wrong. So,
But if you haven't got a tin exactly the same size, surely there must be some type of calculation you can do to work out.
Yeah, but just Google it or use any other search engine, because I don't know. There's some amazing calculators out there to kind of convert recipes for your tin size, but I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. I'm not going to make it up.
So if I tell you I've got a... No, I'm not going to.
Go on, Steph.
No, because Colin could answer it, you know, countdown host over there.
What?
Quick
There's
maths.
to know Rachel Riley.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anytime
yeah.
I'm cooking a cake, just get her in speed dial.
See, that's what you do. So you chill that then for about an hour, OK? Yeah. Or you could chill it for a day if you wanted to, like I said, if you wanted to make this in advance, you put it in the fridge and leave it for a day or two, and that would be fine. And then before you bake it, you want to put on what will become the sauce. So you do kind of put a sauce on there. It's self-saucing, sort of, but you have to help it along the way. So in here, I've got some very dry old sugar. Probably been in there since we started 2 years ago.
Are you going to do something with that orange juice as well?
I was going to put it in the cake batter, but I got so distracted by those two naughty lads that I forgot. But so the orange zest and the orange juice, that goes in the cake batter.
Right.
Yeah. So for the sauce, it's a bit more orange juice, a bit more sugar, a little bit of hot water. That just helps to dissolve the sugar more easily, along with a little bit of, a lot of lemon curd, more lemon curd. So this produces the sauce. But it's self-saucing in the respect that you bake it all together and the sauce goes from the top to the bottom.
Will it taste lemony or orangey?
Ooh, you'll find out. I'm hoping a bit of both. Although now I forgot to put my oranges in there, it'll just taste like lemon curd. But no, it will taste it'll be a citrus extravaganza in the mouth. Mm. That's the official description of it. So I'm going to pour this lovely mixture over the top of the pudding. That then gets baked... Oh, I've splashed my new cakes. That gets baked in the oven.
In an awkward place.
In a really awkward place. And then that gets baked for about 50 minutes. And once you've baked it, the sauce has disappeared and it's gone underneath. And it's not like a voluptuous stream of sauce. It's just a little bit of wetness on the bottom, basically.
Oh, nice.
But it's really lovely. So I'll give you... So you can see that. Can you see the sauce at the bottom? So you can see it's all beautiful.
Feel free to try, guys.
Yes, come on.
So I'll give you that.
Did you not serve it with a bit of custard?
I've got cream.
Oh,
Cream
great.
in there.
Yeah, just wait a minute.
Thank you.
There you go. Dig in, everyone. And while these guys inhale my pudding, if you want to make this orange and lemon curd pudding or any of the other recipes our Packed Lunch chefs make, you'll find all the details on our Instagram page. Just search @PackedLunchC4. The noises are right. You're making the right noises, guys.
Orangey is the
Delicious.
answer.
It tastes orangey.
It does taste orange.
Like it just
With
see.
lemon in there. Beautiful.
It's great, but it would be good with custard. Custard or ice cream, whatever you've got.
Should we ask Colin what he thinks?
Yeah, Colin.
The balance between the orange and lemon is like perfect. You're saying like which one do you taste? You just get them both on the journey from mouth to stomach.
It's gorgeous, isn't it?
It really is special. I've got a real sweet tooth, so I'm going to eat all of this.
A citrus journey, I like that.
And if you don't have time to chill it, can you still do the sauce on top?
No, you need to chill it, so otherwise the sauce will kind of dissolve into the batter. So make sure you chill it, yeah.
We all need time to chill, don't we?
We certainly do.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, everyone. Right, that's your lot for today. Join me tomorrow when showbiz legend Tony Christie will be in the studio. He's telling us about his 50-year search for Amarillo. And, of course, filming that legendary music video with Peter Kay. And from lashes to lattes, we're going to be meeting 3 people who've started their own businesses from scratch, and they're going to be giving you some advice on how to do the same. Plus, Peter Komalafe is back with our cost of living clinic. All of that. Plus, Denise Van Houten and Saeed Avasi will be here. Countdown is on next with Colin. You better put your food down and get in your chair. We'll see you tomorrow at 12:30. Bye-bye.